Ronix Premium Quality.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening and welcome to Breaking Barriers here on IBN Channel 8. Of course, I'm Inshan Ishmael, your host. And you know, there are times when I will be on and times when I wouldn't be on. And of course, tonight is one of those days when I would be on because I've been back and forth in and out of the country. And of course, I would like to thank my good friend, Tiniad Lord Richard Jagisa for filling in. And of course, my brother Nazim Ishmael whenever he is in the studio. Of course, Richard,
good night.
Special.
Thank you, Inshan, for having me, and always a pleasure to be on Breaking Barriers.
You're looking fresh, boy.
You think so?
You're looking like a newly minted Irish Spring soap.
Sounds good to me, and I think I'm looking fresh to deal with some things freshly tonight.
Aye, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would just like to deal with something on a note that, well, personally for me, and that is, of course, the release of Suvesh. Can I get my single shot, guys? Yeah. What happened is that Suvesh Ramnarayan, he was released this morning at 2 a.m. And, you know, it's something that I was looking forward to for quite some time because I have kept it alive on social media, you know, almost on a weekly basis, you know, asking questions about, you know, when will this be dealt with? Because, I mean, for someone to be missing that long and then all of a sudden, you know, you're not hearing anything, it causes a lot of worry and stress for the family. Thank God, aside from some bruised wrists where they had him, you know, shackled, etc., he is in good health. This evening, I received a call from him. He spent maybe about 20 minutes with me on the phone. And, you know, after listening to him, you realize that this thing is bigger than most of us really understand. Because when they take you, there's one group of people. When they transfer you, it's a next group of people. When they are keeping you, it's another group of people. So therefore, along the way, you are meeting so many different people that really and truly, it's hard tracking the people who have you, the people who are holding you, because by the time you get accustomed to one to try to write down, look, this fella have a scar on his face, he have a tattoo by ear, and next one show up, and then the next one show up, and then the next one show up. And all I could tell you is that I am elated this evening because we know the family very well. We grew up with Suvesh's father, Koksi, and the entire family. As I said before, Suvesh's uncle, Bikram Ramnarayan, was the one, he and his family, who started the whole foreign news industry. If it were not for Bikram Ramnarayan and his brothers and his family, literally tens of thousands would be out of work and would not have been millionaires today. So, you know, you must give kudos and accolades where kudos and accolades are due. And for Koksi, you know, he has been a hard-working, in fact, Koksi has always been the Kiksi member of the family. He was murdered about 8 years ago. And of course, his son runs his own business now, Kasura Trading. And he's a very successful and humble young man. And I wish him all the best. And, may God keep him safe and, continue to protect him. Richard?
Yes, good night. Now, this Suvesh being released, the Coxie family having their brother and their son back is of course heartwarming and welcoming, and I do share your sentiments as well because as you know, I am familiar with the family as well, being from Kunupia and so on, the family being from Kunupia. What I want to highlight is that this is one of the rare occasions where the person has been released.
Thank you for that.
And released alive. What we're seeing in this country now is a swarm of kidnappings that we've not seen the lights of since 2009, 2008, when we had a wave of kidnappings every month, 12, 13 kidnappings and so on. And what is a kidnapper looking for? A kidnapper is looking for someone they could hold to ransom, looking for the slightly well-off in society, the persons who work hard for their money. The kidnapper is looking to hold them and then ransom them for some money. And that's a frightening thing. That's a frightening thing for the people of this country who study hard, who work hard, who are trying to make ends meet and have a little savings put together. That's a frightening thing, and it makes you feel as though you're under siege, Inshan. It makes you feel as though you're trapped in your own house and you can't get out. For something as simple as a camera to install around your house or cameras to install in your cars that one might want to purchase. Those cameras and so on are cheap online, but we can't get the access to the foreign exchange on our cards to get the cameras. We can't get the access to the security systems to purchase. It's so much cheaper online than here. But what are we forced to do? We're forced to go to these major players in the security industry. We're forced to go to these major businesses, the cream of the crop businesses. 1% of the businesses in the country that get to import these things and triple the price and quadruple the price, and we have to spend our money there for our own safety. And remember, this comes on the backbone of feeling this sense of fright and feeling scared in your own country. And it should not be like that. And coming off of kidnapping, we have extortion. We have people fleeing the country because of extortion. We have a businesswoman who was in the news yesterday from Kunupia as well.
She's moving business.
She's moving, and that is just the one that happens to be in the news. There are other people that you and I know.
No, actually, I commend her for actually coming out, because most cases like this, when you hear about people who have actually been affected, they normally say that an unknown source or somebody who prefers to remain anonymous.
Yes.
You don't hear these people coming out. And for Suvesh to have contacted me tonight, and I really commend him, because what happened is that for him to have contacted me, and he told me, he said, listen to me, you're one of the first persons that I have made contact with outside of family. And to me, why that made me feel good is because, number one, the family knew that they could have counted on someone outside of the family circle to work with them to try to keep this issue alive. And that is the problem in Trinidad when something affects your family. Because if I were to ask you now, Richard, or if I were to ask your father or anybody else, how many persons who have been kidnapped, how many persons who have been murdered, what is the detection rate in this country right now?
Less than 1%. Less than 1%. The detection rate of all crime in this country, grievous crime or simple crime, it is less than 1%.
No, but the thing is, can we even say it's a simple crime? Because in this country, there's very little that we can say is a simple crime, because somebody going down the road and your nanny and your nana leave a gold chain for you, or a bracelet for you, or as we say, a bearer for you, and a man come and rob you of that. That is not only robbing you of that bearer or that bracelet, that is robbing you of a family legacy. So therefore, when you look at the seriousness of crime, what may be serious to some may not be serious to all. But I find it rather shocking that with thousands of cars purchased every year, with them making so many decisions with senior officers and this officer and that officer, and you telling me that our detection rate is still less than 1%?
Yes, that's the figures, less than 1%, and our conviction rate is less than 0.1% of the 1% that they've detected.
You know what I remember from this, Richard? I remember when I was arrested for protesting by Shogunas, when I was held by the Guardian, when the writer Kevin Baldwin Singh had written an article against the Muslim community, and I was arrested by the police. And that was one of the officers that questioned about my mother, Soka, the same one who some woman had on a uniform, the Spanish woman, the khaki uniform. That is the same officer. And officers have a habit of questioning me about my mother. I don't know why. But anyway, what happened is that when that matter was called to court, would you believe there were 4 state prosecutors?
Imagine that.
4 state prosecutors in Robert. The first one, after he involved, he said, nah. He told me, he said, Ishmael, I am not part of this. I gone. A woman, and I remember her clearly, and I wouldn't describe how she walks because people may figure out who it is I'm talking about. And this other state prosecutor, after appearing just once, she said, Ishmael, it was nice to appear on behalf of the state, but I gone. I said, what's going on? She said, them want me, right? The camera that you record this, them want me to go and get a search warrant to go in your home and seize the camera. But the police was so stupid that they already had the camera in their possession. But they didn't have the chip.
Right.
So when you look at how we are very familiar with the police coming after people using their resources. For example, if Mr. Jagisa is known as an attorney who targets the police officer, even though you're an attorney at law, but you only win in case against the police.
Right.
What do you think your relationship is going to be with the police?
Well, they're obviously going to take it very personal. And if they see my car in the road, they might pull me aside. They might charge me for something that doesn't exist.
Do you think being an attorney will protect you from that?
No, of course not. Of course. The first thing they teach you in criminal law class is comply and then complain. Never get into any argument with any police officer. Comply and then file a complaint later. The first thing they teach you.
But that ain't my genetics at all.
No, not in mine either. I tell you that's what they teach. I was never a good student.
But where, all right, now, where do we go from here? As we are still dealing with this topic of crime and criminal activities, we are seeing that we are about to hit almost 600.
Record breaking.
Record breaking.
Yes. Let's call it what it is.
I want you to take a look at this, Richard. Take a look at this. Go ahead, guys. This is the carjacking. You ready? We have it? We don't have it? Okay. Okay, pause here. Let me tell you what this is about. Many people don't know about this because I have not made this public. I am officially making it public tonight because this is my brother involved in an almost attempted carjacking in Europe. This was the second attempt. My brother is 70-something years. But if there's one thing, he'd be like an ox. And I wanted to take a look at what transpired there. Go ahead. Now, we had the seatbelt on. So that is what keeping him in the vehicle, you know. Boy, let me tell you something. I would have taken that same seatbelt, wrap it around that fella's neck, and drag him down the road and then run that door into a post. Or take the car there right now and run your ass over. Watch it come out.
The criminal element in this country is we have more footage?
Ladies and gentlemen here.
Let me tell you a story of my own. This week, I was called by a member of the village. As you know, I live in Felicity, so it's a close-knit village, born and raised there. So more or less everybody knows me. I was called by a member of the auntie in the village telling me, a businesswoman to that effect, single mother living alone in a house with her one son. She told me, Richard, there is two men outside my house trying to get in the property. They told me to come home immediately and open the gate for them. They have something in the property they have mislabeled, and a package was accidentally sent to her house and they come to collect it. What madness is that? Who are the people? Who are calling you and so on? She told me the person who called her claims to be an officer of the Shogunas police station. I said, call back, and what number? She said, a cell phone number. I said, call back the person and ask for their name, badge number, and rank. And I say that as common sense advice to anybody. You are entitled to ask for any officer's name and badge number and rank.
But if they give you false information?
Well, you know the end of the story. She calls back the person and she says, who are you? What is your name, badge number, and rank? The person hang up the phone. The person hang up the phone. So we live in a world where we don't know if that person was telling the truth. I mean, that story just sounds fishy. That story just sounds, they wanted access to a house. That story just sounds very odd. So when I heard it, it shocked me. And my intention was to call the Shogunas police station, as the commissioner of police has advised that we're allowed to do, and verify the identity of the police officer. She's told us that. She's told us we're entitled to do that. But we haven't even gotten to that point, because whoever that officer or that person was, that person just happened to be in front of her house, and that person just called her and instructed her to come home immediately and open the gate. And thank God she called me. Thank God she didn't go, because who knows, we could have upped the murder rate tonight or upped the kidnapping rate tonight. So let that be a lesson. You are entitled to call the police station, entitled to ask the officers for their name and badge numbers, and if the story sounds fishy, you do the needful, man. Do the needful. As your brother did in the video there, the needful.
Well, let me tell you something. Honestly, this man get away by the skin of his teeth, because if that gentleman had a firearm on him, which it appears he did not, if he had a firearm on him, he would have used that firearm if he didn't get that vehicle. And that is the risk that was taken as well. I mean, what really strapped my brother to the vehicle was being in the vehicle, and he has a habit of always putting on his seatbelt. And then he's the type of person, I don't know why, I'm the type of person who will just say, here, you want the vehicle? I want, take the vehicle. Mm-hmm. He's the type of person who will say, nah, I ain't going through that hard luck, and look to fight down, which is something I would not recommend to anybody, because material things, whether it is you work hard or you got it easy, at the end of the day, when the car get the bullet, the car will be parked up in a hospital looking for a heart, liver, or kidney transplant, you know.
Right.
And then you're lucky if that is the case. It may be that you may lose your life, and lose your life over what? You know, look, and there was another case recently, Wayne Crep, where one of the, where there was an officer ended up resting bullet on one of them, and when he get bullet, he couldn't walk and he ended up on the ground. And when the officer come outside with his gun drawn, he beg in.
Yeah.
Now, I tell you as man, if that wasn't outside in a public view and cameras were not around, all of his body would have been like a strainer. Right? All of his body would have been like a strainer. Because the fact is that anytime these fellas get the opportunity to go back there again, right? But the good thing is he's alive to talk. Because many of these fellas on him, when they are held, if there's one thing they like, it's to talk. Because they know that if they break in jail and they look to the left and they look to the right and they see their partners, they're going to do what they could do to make sure they sell out their partners so that them could have company in jail. Of course, you don't know how long their life will last. But the thing is that, Richard, no matter what, right now, the situation is not getting better. We are not seeing any improvement. Recently, we saw that there was a no confidence vote in the Minister of National Security in his performance as the representative for the Beta and other areas, Laventille West.
His constituency.
Yes. So therefore, If a simple thing like representing your constituents and there's no confidence in you, imagine how we feel about you being the Minister of National Security with your bicycle riding partner. How do we feel?
Not safe, not protected, and like I said earlier, frightened and feel as though you're under siege and a prisoner in your own country and a prisoner in your own home. It is really, really, really unfair to exist in a society where we have an abundance of resources. We have the ability to detect crime in an instant. We have the ability to chase a bearer in St. Joseph.
Yeah, but even up to now, nothing ever came out of that.
Well,
whatever came out of that?
They held 2 persons and then they released them.
Right. And after they released them, what came out of that?
As far as the public is concerned, no press release, no further information.
Where is the video from the cameras that were wrong and was clearly in view of the incident? Where is that footage?
We had to file an FOIA for that. If the investigation is concluded, we could file an FOIA for that.
This is what I'm saying. For people like myself who have reached an age now where we are almost on the walking plank with 1 foot, and it's just 1 foot to drop again. And all I want is for this country to heal, boy. I mean, look at what took place in the US last night. Nobody would have ever thought that Donald Trump would have won the elections.
That is true.
Nobody. But only one person from MSNBC said something which is interesting. What took place in Palestine and what took place with the mass genocide caused literally hundreds of thousands to take to the streets in the US. Never before seen. And they did not take into account all those young people, all the universities that shut down all the young voters. And only one person on MSNBC said it, that they did not take that into account. Not only that, this woman, Kamala, was like a cackling clown half the time. She sounded drunk 90% of the time. And when you look at the results, in fact, when I got up 4:05 this morning, and I saw that the election was called for Trump and it was called early too. Seriously. I was shocked. But what does that teach us in Trinidad and Tobago? What does that tell us? Because you see, for 3.5, if you have, and one of the things that one of the MSNBC reporters was saying too as well, is that when she was asked, what would you do different? What would you do different as you are now, vying to become president, that you did not do in the last 3.5 years? She said, I wouldn't do anything different. And when polled, 70% of the American people said they wanted something different. So if 70% of the American people said, we want something different, but when you, as a person who vying for president, was asked a question, you say, well, you're not going to do anything different. What are you telling the people?
Yeah, exactly. So I think history has always shown us it's always better to be on the side of change for any election. The side that appears to be revolutionary, the side that appears to be the movement for any progress or any progressive movement, as the case may be. In that case, it seemed as though the vice president held on too closely to the coattails of the president. And that seemed to be, more of the same for that electorate. Now, applying that here, which is where we really need to land, applying that here, what we as the citizens have to tell ourselves is we've already gotten 9 years of the same failed policies, the same failed detection rate in criminal activity, the same failed conviction rate in criminal activity. We've gotten a lot of the same excuses. We've gotten a lot of the same ridiculous bullying tactics by this administration. 9 years of it. And we have to really call on ourselves and our consciousness and ask, well, we do need change, obviously, and wherever the change may come from, we welcome it, because we cannot last another 5 years. I don't even think we can last another year.
No, and this is the reality of it. But you see, at the end of the day, your politics, your idea of politics, my idea of politics, may be different from those on the ground, those who enact change. For example, I am seeing, one of the persons, and I will use this person, I am seeing Fuad Khan, right, saying he's interested in coming back. Fuad Khan was the same man. When you ask Fuad Khan about Jilal and what Jilal did with traffic in El Sicuro, you know how Fuad Khan and the corporation and other areas assisted by dealing with the traffic? Not by making sure that the businessman had parking, which he has in place now. The sidewalk was leveled so cars could pass on the sidewalk. And you see, this type of representation is something that you don't want again. We want young blood. We want people who could push the country forward. We want people who will be able to really make a difference, because what we need to get now is a group of people who ideas can be translated into proper work ethics, and this drunken politics that we have had for years, it has to come to an end. It has to come to an end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I accept that those thoughts. It's always good. It's always good to move forward and to progress. And it's always beneficial to have young, vibrant individuals, mixed with experience, young, vibrant individuals who can tackle everyday issues. You can't have persons serving as prime minister nearing 80 years old, and the everyday issue revolves around security, privacy, and confidentiality from your phone, from your cell phone, from TikTok and Facebook and so on. You need somebody who understands the complexity of those issues and is able to tackle it. So it's always good to have young people capable of dealing with difficult issues, I always say.
Well, one of the things that you haven't seen in the past and you're seeing it now is that you never used to see cracks appearing in the PNM, and those cracks were made public. Now you are seeing a lot of cracks appearing, and a lot of those cracks are being made public. Yeah. For example, their convention and internal elections and all those things, and they putting off. It's almost as if Rowley's afraid to even call anything, because he understands that the swan song that he gave recently in Parliament, he realized that someone may take him up on it.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and according to Ferdinand, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, they have always, first of all, the first point he makes is this is the first time in the PNM's history that they have to contest the post of political leader. It has usually been handed over to one contestant, or the political leader dies in office, which is the most common eventuality. So this is one of those rare occasions where there seems to be a battle for the post of political leader. And I wanted to add something to what you just said. It seems as though even if you're a member of the PNM and you give an inkling of an opposing view, they might even hold you in contempt. They might even hold you in contempt of their party regulations and put you before a disciplinary committee. I think that's on the books for one of their members. So there is a split, clear as day. There is one fraction moving one particular way and one faction moving the other particular way, and it all centers around a man in the middle who is the current political leader, the current prime minister, who is devoid of ideas, who is devoid of any care and empathy for the regular man in Trinidad and Tobago, who is devoid of any care and empathy for the everyday businessman of this country, and who I understand is now the region's most frequent flyer.
Well, that is fact. One is that his miles, I was told he was congratulated recently for the amount of miles he has. When he goes back to goat farming in Tobago, he could use a lot probably to export goat, I don't know wherever he sees fit. But at the end of the day, no stress off my back, because quite frankly, flying is something that, believe me, many citizens have gotten accustomed to, because when you need to take a break from the madness here, that is what you do. Yeah. If I were to ask anybody here, what do you do anytime you get a break? You leave the country, because it's almost as if your ventilator is lacking electricity and the power is low, and you're in Trinidad and you're suffocating. And all of a sudden, when you get a chance to breathe, you leave the country. And then finally, as soon as you arrive somewhere else, your lungs could finally reach the capacity it needs to reach. And why is that happening? simply because we have allowed this thing to go on for too long. We have allowed it to continue. We have allowed ourselves to be used by politicians, and I think the time has come for us to demand better. And I think we really need to work together to end that once and for all.
I agree with you. And one of the points where in recent days, and I say days, where pressure has been applied to the government, and you can see some degree of shift and some degree of change, is in this foreign exchange issue. Can I address that for a minute?
What's the slide I have there, guys? With input? Could we get that slide now, guys? Justin?
That's one of my slides. You had the slide as well?
I sent that to them.
Well, let's begin. Okay, so this was in today's papers.
Yes.
Aimed to consult with stakeholders on changing Forex distribution system. Now, come back to me, guys, for a minute. Now, I want to just say that this started when a businessman sent a request to the Ministry of Finance for foreign exchange to bring in machines that can package water in paper-based packaging. He was denied his request for foreign exchange. He filed an appeal of that request. His appeal was denied. He reached at my doorstep, and we filed a request under the Freedom of Information Act for the information regarding how one applies for foreign exchange, what is the criteria for foreign exchange,
what is the process,
what is the policy for foreign exchange distribution, and in that we started this movement. We started this wave, this change, this open door question about foreign exchange in the country. And that is the most recent result, which is the minister wants to meet with stakeholders. That is in today's papers. Let me tell you something. The minister now wants to meet with stakeholders. Today, in November 2024, now wants to meet with stakeholders. His 9th year in office, his umpteen ever years.
How many years of complaining?
Exactly so, right? The minister is now saying he wants to meet with stakeholders. Let's go to the other slide I gave you guys. It should be a PDF document.
Could I comment one thing on what you just said?
Sure.
What happens is that I know the processes I went through. If I need 5,000 US, I have to provide an invoice. On what I plan to purchase. I would submit that to the branch. The branch now will take that and submit it to Forex. Trade now will see if I am a baby, if I am one of the branch manager's family, if I am a minister's boy toy, boyfriend or girlfriend, if I am a contractor for a minister who does pay back bribe, and then the bank will decide where I fall in that line. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Richard. When central bank disburses foreign exchange, the bank gets a certain allocation.
Correct.
They will get 10 million, say 10 million.
Yeah.
That 10 million is available for them to distribute how they see fit.
Free market, yes.
Good. So therefore, by him making the statement that he made there, he meeting with stakeholders to investigate and to see what's going on. They very well know what the hell going on. They know what is happening. The banks are favoring their friends. If Richard go, and Richard bank account, Richard don't have no multi-million-dollar loan with the bank, so they can squeeze your testicles for nothing. Hard luck. The people who just pay their credit card on time, we are the worst people.
Yeah, hard luck.
The people who don't take loans, we are the worst people. So for many of the banks, the Muslim community have some of the worst customers because we don't get involved in regular bank loans.
Interest, yeah.
So therefore, at the end of the day, who do you think is on the proverbial end of the stick? And the banks will never admit that.
Yeah.
Because I told one of the bank managers that when you look at one or two of these fellas and them who work in certain banks, and you see the managers and the vehicles they drive and the companies that they drive from, these people get their kickbacks And who do you think they're going to be faithful to? They're going to be faithful to the very people in these used car dealerships. Because there are people, for example, I mentioned one guy who was involved in cellular phone fraud. Big fraud. Everybody know he involved in fraud. He used to bring down vans involved in fraud. Even bringing down vans. FIU have him under investigation. Police have him under investigation. And now he bringing down foreign used vehicles. And he ain't bringing down no $10,000 vehicles. He bringing down vehicles that cost 50, 60, 70, 80,000 US one vehicle. But nobody questioning where the US come from. And you know what's the interesting thing? If Insha and Ishmael take $1,000 and go to the bank, where get that money from the US? Who give it to you? Where's the fella name? Where he neighbor? It in the middle or it on his side? What size his shoe is?
Correct.
But these people who clearly did not get money from your bank could conduct business with your bank comfortably. Explain that to me.
Yeah, I can't. It's an anomaly and it is wrong. And it's absolutely wrong. So let's get back to Imbert,
Yeah, go on.
Imbert for a second. So guys, just to recap, Imbert said in today's newspaper that he is now going to meet with stakeholders. You know, the minister Colin Imbert has announced plans to consult with stakeholders. Now, what he means, as Inshan correctly pointed out, is the chambers of commerce, certain organizations like BAT, Bankers Association.
The people who are deemed important in society.
Well, who he deems important.
Yeah, because used car dealers are dog, we are dregs.
So that is what the minister is saying now. And he says that today, to close off the conversation raised by the businessman in March of this year. He says that to silence everybody. He says that to put a rest to all of this. He says that to ease the Bankers Association, ease people like Inshan Ishmael and so on, right? Because we're beating this thing too hard. He says that, he boards a plane to Paris and he goes off. And that's the end of that. He's fooling us. I raised the point last week on the show. These ministers, especially this particular one, has a habit of fooling us. And it is about time we open our eyes. And let me show you what I mean by that. So in today's papers, the headline is, he's meeting with stakeholders. Let's go to the PDF, guys. September 17th, 2023. Last year and 2 months. Last year and 2 months, this is a press release from the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance. Let's go to the first line. The Minister of Finance has noted with interest an editorial in Sunday Express regarding foreign exchange supply and demand. Let's go down to the last line, please. There we go. All right. Now, according to the Minister of Finance, same person who in October of 2024 wants to meet with local businesses and interest groups. Last line, in September of 2023, according to the Minister of Finance, will be holding discussions in the near future with the central bank, commercial banks, and business community to discuss the causes and effect of increased demand of foreign exchange and strategies to deal with the current challenges and the most appropriate policy for the allocation, management, and distribution of foreign currency, as well as strategies to increase the repatriation of foreign exchange, Forex earned overseas by local businesses and foreign business operating in Trinidad and Tobago. Come back to me, please. In September 17, 2023, the minister said he was going to meet with all these business groups, with all these stakeholders,
Correct,
and come up with policies, and come up with divestment plans, and all of that fanciness. Last year, September 2023, in the near future, a year and 2 months later, and he still hasn't met with them. It's public, that nonsense. If he didn't us, are we supposed to buy it? We supposed to buy it? That's nonsense, that dotishness. And it is about, and I'm taking my time to explain this, because as intelligent individuals of this country, we have to see through the nonsense that they've been feeding us over the 9 years. So, October 2024, he has not met with any stakeholder. He's now promising to meet with stakeholders. September 17, 2023, he promised to meet with stakeholders since September 17, 2023. In the near future. A year and 2 months later, that's not the near future for him. He measures in years the same way he measures height. Let's go to the last slide. The last article. It should be, no, it's an article. It should be the IMF article. Yeah. There we go. IMF urges swift action to resolve foreign exchange shortage. Let's hold there for a second. The IMF urges swift action to resolve Forex shortage. The IMF told Imbert to meet with the business community. Let's scroll along to the article. Let me find the line for you. The IMF has issued a call to action regarding Trinidad and Tobago, emphasis on resolving these shortages, a top priority for the country. To tackle the situation, the IMF's directors are calling for an improvement in the way foreign currency is distributed. They stated that this can be achieved by removing all restrictions and so on. Let's scroll along a bit further. These suggestions were part of the IMF executive director's assessment. Let's scroll along a bit further. All right. Okay, you could come back to me. It may be on a page you haven't got there. So the IMF instructed Imbert to meet with the business community. But he comes now and he calls a press conference. I think it was Sunday or Monday. He calls a press conference for an entire hour. And one of the last 5 questions I believe the media asked him was relative to this foreign exchange issue. And he makes his comments about his meeting with the stakeholders and so on. He's pulling wool over our eyes as citizens. He's pretending that it's his idea. It's really the IMF's. He's pretending he's going to meet in the near future. He told us that last year, September. Right. He's pretending he's going to meet with the Bankers Association, the Chambers of Commerce, the other, as you call them, the bigwigs, the people who matter to him, yes. And the ministry. And he's lying. And he is lying and misleading the public. And that has to come to an end. We cannot accept that. 1 week in Parliament, we learn a new word and we experience what that version of misbehavior in public office looks like. Now we're seeing lies and another version of misbehavior in public office. This particular Minister of Finance, one day I want to deal with all, if I have your permission.
Of course.
We deal with all the ministers from a line.
Tonight, start.
But this particular minister constantly misleads the public. And, as he spins this web of lies and misdirects us, or seeks to misdirect us, he brings up this Exim Bank window. And Inshan, in his analysis a couple of minutes ago, referred to going to the commercial bank and being denied. Commercial bank is an authorized dealer. Central bank released funds to all of the authorized dealers. Exim Bank is one of those authorized dealers specifically set up
for manufacturers,
for a branch of society that is not you, myself, Inshan, not us.
No.
Exim Bank gets money, and as you will recall, I recently allocated $25 million US per month, $25 million US per month from the public purse. That's not the government's money. That is our money, the country's money. The Minister of Finance is an appointed official, a public officer who's supposed to manage the funds. And he's now diverted $25 million per month through Exim Bank to give who? Not the Used Car Association, not people who have small and medium-sized businesses, not people who want to swipe their card to purchase things online like security cameras for their homes, a security system, not people who want to bring in baby supplies. We live in a society where we look at TV, we look at news and so on, and those children in those private schools, those children away, they have all these nice resources. They have tablet-looking things that teach you. They have, in my days, it was still VHS. you put in a VHS and it will teach you, We look at these things and that's not available here. We have special needs children, for example. Most of those things aren't available here. So a parent, might want to spend a 20 US to buy one of those devices to teach their children. And you can't get it. That parent can't go to Exim Bank. Those businesses that want to bring in those educational supplies can't go to Exim Bank. And those people who want to have personal care products and retail, those people who want to bring in clothes and sell for Christmas, those people cannot go to Exim Bank. So while the minister pretends as though Exim Bank is this be-all and end-all of the foreign exchange crisis in this country, he is lying, misleading, and misdirecting the citizens of this country. While the minister pretends as though that is the solution, what he has really revealed is that he has always had this concurrent divestment opportunity to weasel funds from the public purse into the pockets of certain individuals. Certain individuals who are not you and I. Certain individuals who are not the medium-sized businesses, the small businesses, the entrepreneurs. Somebody like me, I run a small legal office. If I want to bring in a heavy-duty printer for some of those cases that they have all these SCs on against me, little old me, one Richard Jagger, sir. Some of my matters have 8 lawyers, 9 lawyers, 10 lawyers on the other side with 2 SC to the top.
Well, SC could stand for all kind of anyway.
If I want to bring in a heavy-duty printer, for example, a photocopying machine to keep pace with these guys, all the filings that they file, I can't go to Exim Bank. I can't go to Exim Bank.
Unless you tell them you're manufacturing printers,
So what the minister has done has shown us his hands, and it's up to us to really look past the nonsense, to look past the grin, to look down a little bit because he's shorter than all of us, to look down, meet the person eye level, and see through the lies, and realize that at the end of the day, as it stands now, $25 million US of our money, of what is supposed to be accessible to all of us.
Going back to the same people again.
Going back to a select group.
The same people
of
who get in.
favorites.
The same people who get in all the time, they are going to access 25 million more.
Per month. Per month. So, this foreign exchange issue is not something that can easily go away, Minister Imbut. You can't just call a press conference and speak property tax for 1 hour, deal with 5 questions, board a plane and run away to Paris. That is not, we will not take it. We will not accept it. As short as you are, you will go down another foot, right? And at the end, you see, it's not, I don't like misdirection. I don't like corruption of any kind. I don't like dishonesty of any kind. And that's what this is. And that's what this is. And we as citizens have to open our eyes and say enough is enough, and we will not accept it. We will not accept it. The minister boasted on X, formerly Twitter, boasted that he checked with Exim Bank about a certain businessman's status with Exim Bank. For the minister to do that, for the minister to have that capability to do that, it tells me that there is
accessing private records.
There is a record that is kept, that is reachable, that the minister could reach his hands into and access the information in that record. And not only that, that is scary for all of us for several reasons. But what is even scarier is that he feels so untouchable. He feels as though he could pull so much wool over our eyes because he's been doing it for the last 9 years. He feels so tenable that he can release that information, what he has found, to the public, and that is okay. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. So I'm sorry I took away time from dealing with the crime situation.
No, because that is something that I wanted to deal with tonight.
But looking at how incompetent those guys are in treating with crime, looking how ineffective they are in detecting and pursuing criminal activity in this country, and now looking at another substantial ministry, there's a trend. There's a trend, and I'm sure if we go down the line and look at the other ministries, we will continue to see the trend. And it is ridiculous. It is beyond ridiculous. So I think we could, my last show, Uncle Nizam and I took some calls on that matter. I don't know if you want to do the same.
Well, what we need to do first is take a break.
Yeah.
Right? We need to take our first break. It's almost 10 to 9 right now, and we haven't done that. But I would just like, before we go on that break, I would just like to wish one of our team members at Baraka Grounds, a happy birthday, and that's Salisha Moody's wife. All the best to you on your 25th birthday. All right? Yeah, yes, that is just, Right? All the best to you. Thank you, Salisha, for all that you have done, all that you continue to do, for being an inspiration to many of us. And of course, as I said in my post today, for being one of the persons who does make one of the best Edos and saltfish and tomato chuka. All right? Thank you so much. All right? All the best to you. God give you good health and strength. You're watching Breaking Barriers, my friends, and we're going to take a break and come back right here. We'll be back right after this break.
I'm Brian. I've been welding for more than 25 years. It's a rough job, so I need tools that last long and work efficiently. The most important tool that I use every day is a welding machine. A good one, in my experience, must last at least, let's say, 4 to 5 years without breaking down or losing efficiency. I've been using a Ronix welding machine for about 4 years now, and it's been a really good companion. Ronix Premium Quality. Ronix Heavy Duty 89 Series. High efficiency, brushless 20-volt motor. All-in-one professional angle grinder kit. Ronix brushless angle grinder.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality bromate free, all purpose and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit us at Warrenville, Cunupia. Shiklisho Limited, quality you can trust.
Mitsu Air Limited, authorized Mitsubishi air conditioning dealer. No need to replace your air conditioning units ever so often. Split units, cassette, ductable, CTVRF systems and much more. Mitsubishi Electric has long been powering industries and providing solutions for healthy living. Mitsu Air Limited boasts the industry's first 10-year warranty on all parts and labor. Inverter units are also available. Don't hear it, just feel it. Mitsu Air Limited, 246 Eastern Main Road, Barataria. Give us a call at 674-4000 or 675-4000 or email us at mitsu.limited@gmail.com.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low Cost Supermarket, Southern Main Road, Cunupia.
And welcome back, my friends. And of course, you're watching Breaking Barriers right here on IBN Channel 8. And of course, we're discussing the issues that you want to hear about. And for those of you who are now joining us, one of the things that I want to I'll remind you is that, Suvesh Ramnarayan was released this morning at 2 a.m. and I spoke to him for about 20 minutes, about half an hour, and, he's in more or less good spirits. And one is that, except for his wrist, which is badly wounded from the bracelets being kept on his the handcuffs being kept on his wrist. And at the end of the day, we wish him all the best, to him and his family. What we're going to do is that Richard have a few points to make on this again. But what I want to do, I want to open up the phone lines where you can call in and we could hear, what points you have, what observations you have, what concerns you have. And if you agree or disagree with anything that was said, of course, feel free to chime in anytime, please. Our line 663-8373 or 645-4426. And when you call in, turn on the volume on your television, please. Richard, proceed.
Yes. Now, I'm on the topic of dealing with the Minister of Finance. It isn't much, but I'm dealing with whatever is left standing when I'm done. And I mentioned the press conference he had was either Sunday or Monday, and he spent the majority of the press conference addressing the property tax issue, boasting that you could pay property tax online. He boasted, and it's in the papers as well, that we received $109 million, 109 million in property tax thus far. And there's a breakdown by corporation and city council and so on where the money has come from. Now, before I get to it, hold on, Justin. Before I get to it, let me explain what the misdirect is. The misdirect is that the minister has alleged that the money collected from a corporation goes back into the corporation. Now, Inshan, you'll be familiar with how this works. If a corporation, let's say, for example, Kuva Tabakit Corporation is allocated $9 million for the fiscal year, but the corporation, in its own means, by a car park, for example, they earned $1 million, they will only be given $8 million, and even though $9 million was allocated, the government will keep back $1 million because they will say, well, you earned $1 million.
Earned $1 million, yes.
Right, good. So while the budget will say that the allocated $9 million, the actual expense will only be $8 million.
Yes.
Now we can bring up the slide. I want to find out from the Minister of Finance whether, can we zoom in a bit? Now, this is an official article and so on. Government collected 105 million. Oh, sorry, I said 109 earlier. 105 million in property tax. This was just 20 hours ago, guys. And it says, you just want to point out that Port of Spain City Corporation is the lowest. Just want to point out Port of Spain City Corporation with all the high rises, where all the ministers sleep at night, the lowest. So they're bringing in the least revenue in this big property tax savior that the ministry brings in. That's a topic I want to address on another day entirely.
Wow.
But let's go to Chaguanas Borough Corporation, for example. That's 9 million. Pinal Debe, that's 8 million. Tunapuna Piako Region Corporation is the most at 18 million. And the question is that 18 million going to be deducted from the allocation to the corporation, or is it an addition? It is obvious, the way the budget is set up, the way the legislation is set up, it is going to be a reduction. It is going to be 18 million less given. So there is no increase. The misdirect is that this is all money going back into the corporations. The truth may very well be, I'm leaving it open-ended until I'm corrected. I'm inviting people to address this, whether or not this money is going to be deducted from the allocation or whether it really is going to be, as the minister has contended time and time again, it's going to be invested in the corporation. You can come back to me now. Now, it is because corporations don't get a benefit, a tangible benefit from any revenue stream, that they are not encouraged to conduct a revenue stream, to have a revenue stream. That's why local farmers markets and so on, local car parks and so on, are not properly upkept by the various corporations because they don't get that revenue. It's not like in the US, for example, where you have Dallas County and all of the money Dallas County makes stays in Dallas County. You know, or Dade County, as the case may be. If we were to have that facility, you would realize those corporations that had 13 million, 18 million, and so on, you realize those corporations start to look and feel a bit different. We may even be able to hire our own security to patrol the streets. You even be able to put in our own security cameras to detect crime.
You might even be able to build guard boot in Bamboo number 2.
Guard boot, courts, all sorts of different things. You know, 13 million collected from a corporation. What can 13 million is the budget for a whole ministry in one of those small islands?
No, but in trying to be good, 13 million will buy you one gate motor.
Under this government?
Yeah.
But maybe not under those corporation guys. So I just wanted to point that out. Could we take the call?
Of course, go ahead. Hello? Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello, good night, sir.
Good night.
As you're on the banking issue and stuff like that, one of the things I always wish that you could look into, if you are a builder or you're a contractor and I work for you and you give me a Republic check and I do bank with Republic Bank not changing my checks and inverting them not doing nothing about that. Yeah. That is a serious issue that banks not.
Yeah,
they don't really care about that, and
if you don't have an account with them,
crime issue.
Yeah, they wouldn't cash the check.
Which is stupid, because it like long time when this fella had acted a show about lying and becoming a pilot and going and looking for
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can, right? Leonardo DiCaprio. And what happened is that it like you had to wait 2 weeks to verify something. Banks could verify something.
Bank, you could deal with that one time.
Exactly. And this is what I say. You see, the banks, we are the problem right now, because if we were serious and a bank gave us problem and we decide to close down our account and shift, banks would get serious. But we ain't gonna do that, because you just had to sell your land and house and bring all your deed for your goat and to get open an account in the first place.
Yeah, well, I know that's another issue, but I mean, for me, if I get a check, I must, if I want to go, even if to go to the bank and to the branch and certify it, is a problem. They're not doing nothing for if you don't have no account with them.
Yeah.
And both of them need to stop that. They need to put their foot down on that.
Yeah.
Because the banks making money. Let me tell you something. The only reason the banks doing that is because they feel they're not making enough money. But everything you do in the bank, it have a price. If you go and you buy a draft or you want a certified check, it's $20. So if they do 150 certified checks, that's $3,000 for the day. And that might be just one branch alone. Because people now wouldn't use cash to move around depending on the amount of money it is. It's easier to do a transaction with a manager's check.
But you see, then again, the banks are allowed to put in place what policy they deem necessary, because at the end of the day, remember, they are a private entity.
Yeah, but central bank has
set laws.
Correct. Central bank has an overarching policy mandate where they can make regulations, they can cap price points and so on, for example. They can make overarching regulations that govern all of the commercial banks in this country. Right. And caller, you're absolutely right. The reason they have that policy is because they want you to be mandated to open an account with them so they can charge you service fee and then tell you have to do all the work online. You can't come into the branch and do anything.
Well, even online banking is risky.
Yeah.
Well, everything risky these days, because you're doing it online, it's risky. You're doing it in person, risky.
Well, if I go to get money and I feel I can't walk with it, I rather do it in a manager's check. If you take the check, you can't do nothing with it. I prefer to spend the money. I don't have a problem paying for a manager's check, but what I'm saying is it's inconveniencing me, because if I had to deposit that check and wait for 5 days, especially if it's Royal Bank wants you to wait a whole week. And that's another menace to the whole banking industry, but say what?
All right, thank you very much, caller.
Yeah.
As I said before, for those of you who would like to call in, just call in, turn on the volume on your television. We're discussing a broad range of topics for many of you, many of the smaller businesses. And you know it's sad, boy? There are people outside there watching this program right now, and they are so afraid to even call in because they're afraid their voice get recognized because they're a business owner.
Yeah.
This is the fear that we have. Let's go back to our lines. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, caller. Turn down your radio and speak on the phone, please.
Hi, that's all.
Television, yeah.
All right, good night. just going to make an attempt to be very respectful. Some information you gave there tonight pertaining to foreign exchange, I don't think you were totally correct. One bank that I bank with has allowed people with the platinum credit card to have up to 5,000 US per month, right? And as far as the Exim Bank, that bank was established for people who are manufacturing goods for export. It's not for Tom, Dick, and Harry to go to buy cutlery, TV, and foreign items.
No, nobody said otherwise. We clarified that. We said that same exact thing you're saying.
All right? But the part with the credit card, people have access to US. I buy things, my wife buys stuff. I know a lot of people who purchase things online, so I don't understand what they're saying that, we're not getting access.
So caller, where are you calling from?
Twin
City, all right. So you are saying you have no need for any additional foreign exchange. That's your position?
At this point in time, no.
You don't have any further need. How many credit cards do you have?
4.
4 in your family?
In fact, 5. 4 with one bank and 1 with another.
Right. So you have 5 credit cards, each with a limit of around 5,000 US on each credit card?
That 5,000 US is per month. The limit, it would exceed that.
Right, but those same cards that are 5,000, they were 8 and 9 and 7,000 before. It dropped to 5,000 because Republic Bank dropped it. I am one of the platinum card holders. So I could tell you, I had a limit of 12,000, 13,000 US before. They dropped me to 10,000. Now I am down to 5,000. So at the end of the day, there was a significant drop.
Right. Okay. Yeah, caller. So you're saying you are okay with your 5 cards, 5 credit cards, with a limit. You're saying a limit exceeding 5,000. That's what you're saying, yes?
In TT, the limit exceeds. Listen to me, Kip. I'm saying that you are allowed monthly per calendar month 5,000 US on a platinum card.
Right, and you have 5 of those?
Yes.
Right. So that's 25,000?
Yes.
My math is correct. So your household, you are satisfied with 25,000 US spending limit in your household per month, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
There's no need for that amount of money.
Right, you're comfortable with that. And how many of you live in that household?
2 people.
2 people. 25,000 US for 2 people in a household. All right. When was the last time you traveled, sir?
December last.
December last year. Okay, so roughly a year ago. Roughly a year ago. When you traveled, did you go to one of those 2 banks that you mentioned earlier and get some cash to go on your trip?
To go on my trip, no, I left Trinidad with my credit cards. When I got to where I was going, I found an ATM, placed my credit card in, and got US out.
Cash.
Right. Okay, fine, no problem. And this, you went to the US, I'm assuming, yes?
No, right in the Caribbean.
Oh, you went right in the Caribbean. All right, cool. So when you went to that Caribbean island, you obviously you went to dinner and so on. A plate of food there for you and your partner, average what? $60, 60 US dollars?
I went all inclusive.
You went all inclusive.
Yes.
Twin City, $25,000 US a month, all inclusive trip up and down the island. I see why you don't have any additional need for foreign exchange. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much for calling.
That is understandable. But what is that, unfortunately, most of us I have 1 credit card and that is all I want.
Yeah. In Chan, I have half a credit card. I have half.
You have a debit card?
I have to share. So I have half. So I understand why the caller would say he's fine and there is no foreign exchange crisis. Because if I had
what he had,
$25,000 per month US, Exim Bank better watch out. He could open his own bank in his backyard.
You see, and that is another thing. The bank clearly knows that there are people who rely on their cards, and then there are those who sitting down on it doing nothing. Take away the cards from the people who are not using it now, man, and give it to the people who are using it now.
Yeah.
And what about here happening? What about this Cine put aside 100 million for its customers, but in February they only use 80 million? How about the 20 million extra? Why
Yeah.
we don't give them that in March or wherever?
Who knows what bank is doing with it? You know,
You better take that call before you make your point.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
that
know-
call looking like they.
Eager.
Eager.
Yeah, no, for 5 credit cards, man, you know what the interest rate, you know what the annual fee, subscription fee, and so on. Most people can't afford that. The everyday man can't afford that. The everyday man struggles to afford one credit card or the usual banking fee.
That is why my credit card are paid before the end of the month. So there's zero interest.
Yeah.
Caller, hello. Hello.
Yeah, Inshan, good night.
Yeah, good night, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, good night, Richard. Calling from Charlieville.
Good night, Charlieville.
I see my partner Nizam tonight, boy. Alright, here it is,
No,
right?
he take what is that? He ended up he ended up working a little later. What is that? He injured his big left toe on his foot. He'll be back out next week. Nazim.
Alright, no problem. Yeah, that's right, 2 quick points, right? But first I want to address that last caller, that call he did, right? Yeah, that's right. He comfortable with wherever he have any credit card and thing, right? But listen to me, right? When you run in a manufacturing company and you have to bring raw materials and one container costing you 60,000 US and you can't get 2,000 US from the bank, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
No, you tell me, you know.
Yeah.
So I understand what he's saying, you know. And he probably fine with that. But let me tell you something. The problem is the manufacturing company. And most of the companies that in this country right now starving for US. And let me tell you something, right? And notice that the central bank sent out a statement that if you're purchasing US on the black market, they will charge you for that, right? Let me tell you something, right? I have no problem with that, you know. You can charge people, but make sure all the supply in the market so people won't have to go black market and buy the US. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Give us an option. Don't have we go in the black market and tell them we that you're going to charge we if we go black market and buy. Give we the US to purchase. The local bank's not giving you nothing. When you go there, you can get 50 US. We talking about? But now you have your platinum card and thing, you know. But you ain't speaking for the manufacturer, the people that actually need the bulk of US to bring in their raw materials. Alright? And here, one thing I want to talk to you, Richard, before I go, right? This whole issue where the finance minister accessing people's personal information from the Exim Bank, is that misbehavior in public office?
A very good question. A very good question, caller. A very good question.
How he can access a man's personal information from the Exim Bank? Who gives he that information from the Exim Bank? That's why I'm trying to find out. And why it is that person was allowed to do that? That person should have been fired. And he as a minister is a failure for having the whole country down his throat now for Forex after 9 years in office. And let me tell you something, before I go right in Chan, on the northern side of Grand Bazaar, where they running their scrapyard out.
Well, the corporation wouldn't see that.
Because I passing there, every day I passing there is the next old car on the side of the road. Why is there somebody go running to that and then?
No, but the
Then they look
Tirupuna
for
corporation wouldn't see that. They wouldn't see that because you see that is not a guard boot. And one is that they wouldn't send 16 police to break it down. That is how stink and dirty the Tirupuna Piako Regional Corporation is.
I understand what you're saying. That is a real eyesore. I don't understand how it is. Them can allow them people to hang all out with rubbish on the side of the road there. And that's a very dangerous guy to make it.
Anyhow, that is where we reach. That is where we reach.
Yeah, true. Anyhow, enjoy the night.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller, for that. Yeah.
But coming back to this whole thing with recently, they ended up making a decision with credit cards again. So therefore, credit cards was something that people used to survive. They used to use their cards doing business and surviving long time, but not again. It's no longer feasible because when you could have brought 12 of something, now you're down to 1 because that is all it's allowing you to bring in.
Correct. Yeah. And I think the caller, the Trinity caller, was speaking from a personal use perspective. I mean, he was saying in his household there were 2 persons, 5 credit cards. He wasn't speaking from a business perspective, a business-minded person that has to import to resell. You know?
No, but most likely, if you are a platinum card holder, it means 2 things. Either you are well off, you're a businessman, because they don't give platinum cards to Tom, Dick, Harry, and their mother. So basically, at the end of the day, it means that he's of some worth and some value.
Yeah.
So that is the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think in addition in addition to the foreign exchange issue as a foreign exchange crisis by itself, we really have to look on the effect it has on our standing in the regional market, our standing in the international market, and another layer of this thing is our standing as a place of security, meaning without divestment, without proper diversification and so on, how can we properly feed ourselves in the long term? How can we properly secure and have security, food storage and food accessibility moving forward? And if the answer is we cannot, then we are in a really, really, really scary and terrible place. You know, whereas we're in a scary place insofar as crime is concerned, we're in a scary place insofar as the economy is concerned. Nicola made a point that the manufacturing industry in this country, is crying out for foreign exchange. And this has been, and that has been rung true in the newspapers. And this has been the situation for quite some time. Usually, as I said last week, and brought the press releases from the central bank to show, usually central bank injects foreign exchange into the authorized dealer pool, as the case may be, in anticipation, for example, in Carnival, as Inchan mentioned, for Christmas season and so on, for the Easter season, for the traveling season and so on. But now what we have to understand is that injection is still happening. That injection of foreign exchange is still happening. But a chunk of it is being reserved for the Exim Bank benefactors, for the Exim Bank clientele. 25 million per month is being reserved for that sector of society. So, and that's where we really have the inequitable distribution of foreign exchange. And that is what is causing persons to cry out and say there's a foreign exchange crisis. Not only the slash on credit cards. The slash on credit cards affects us, yes. The slash on credit cards is painful, yes, because it affects our personal use and personal buying capabilities. But in terms of how scary the economy can be, we are looking really principally at that lack of injection from central bank into the authorized dealers, trickling down to the entrepreneurs of the country.
We need to take our second break for the night, and unbelievable that it's already 16 minutes after the hour of 9. You're watching Breaking Barriers right here on IBN Channel 8. We'll be back right after this.
I'm Brian. I've been welding for more than 25 years. It's a rough job, so I need tools that last long and work efficiently. The most important tool that I use every day is a welding machine. A good one, in my experience, must last at least, let's say, 4 to 5 years without breaking down or losing efficiency. I've been using a Ronix welding machine for about 4 years now, and it's been a really good companion.
Ronix Premium Quality. Ronix Heavy Duty 89 Series. High efficiency, brushless 20-volt motor. All-in-one professional angle grinder kit. Ronix brushless angle grinder.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality bromate free, all purpose and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisho Limited, quality you can trust.
Mitsu Air Limited, authorized Mitsubishi air conditioning dealer. No need to replace your air conditioning units ever so often. Split units, cassette, ductable, CTVIF systems, and much more. Mitsubishi Electric has long been powering industries and providing solutions for healthy living. Mitsu Air Limited boasts the industry's first 10-year warranty on all parts and labor. Inverter units are also available. Don't hear it, just feel it. Mitsu Air Limited, 246 Eastern Main Road, Barataria. Give us a call at 674-4000 or 675-4000 or email us at mitsu.limited@gmail.com.
And welcome back, my friends. Of course, the time is close to 20 minutes after the hour of 9. You're watching Breaking Barriers right here on IBN Channel 8. And we have just a few more minutes to take your calls. Remember, if you would like to call in and discuss any of the issues that we have been discussing, whether it relates to the crime matter, whether it relates to the foreign exchange issues, whether it is you're a person from another part of Trinidad and Tobago who not so lucky to have 5 credit cards in your family, you let us know at the end of the day. I mean, that is something, Richard, that I have always told myself that I want to stay far away from. That is why for the last, I would say for the last 30 years, there has only been one time in my life I've ever taken a loan from a bank. That is it. And that was at the beginning, and then I got out of it because I realized the seriousness of getting into it. And I have never taken a loan because one of the things that I realize is that this is a fridge that I could buy for $6,000 if I pay in cash. But if I were to go to the bank and buy this fridge, or if I were to buy this fridge on hire purchase, that same fridge punishes me because I'm poor. I now have to pay the bank $2,000-$3,000 extra.
Correct.
Or if it's through hire purchase is costing me $11,000. So as a poor person, you are punished. You better take that call.
Yeah. Good night, caller. You're live.
Hello, good night.
Hi, good night. Where are you calling from?
Richard, Arima.
Hi, good night, Arima.
Mr. Jagger, I wanted to get your thoughts on something. The president of El Salvador, do you remember what he did? He suspended the constitutional rights of certain criminal elements in his country. He literally went to war. He declared war on the criminal elements.
Salvador.
And he rounded up all of them and put them into one big prison. Right? So in our country, I know we don't have the testicular fortitude to do that.
No.
But that could be done. You know?
No, in our country, we know where the criminals live. We know where they shop. We know where they eat.
So that is my point.
We know their brother, father, sister, mother, and uncle, nephew, niece.
The criminal elements in this country. And if they were to suspend those constitutional rights for those people under the Anti-Gang Act and turn that into a declaration of war, and deem these idiots enemies of the state, because that is what they are. They are terrorists.
Yeah, caller. So I like where your mind is at, but I just have to say one thing. We do not need to suspend or even consider suspending the liberties and freedoms under the Constitution to do what you're saying. We do not need to. The legislation, believe it or not, right now already allows that kind of police enforcement. Already allows that kind of stop and search and arrest and seizure and so on. We have, as you correctly pointed out, the anti-gang legislation with broad powers, extremely broad powers. We have the bail amendment with broad powers. We have anti-gang, a plethora of anti-gang legislation and anti-gun legislation. You know, so all of this allows us. If a gun is, for example, if a gun is found in a vehicle, one firearm is found in a vehicle and there are 4 persons in the vehicle, all 4 can be held for possession of the one item. So that's how broad it is, and that's an example. The Bail Act, coupled with that now, I'm just explaining a bit of the plethora of legislation. The Bail Act now says you're not entitled to bail, none of the 4 persons entitled to bail for up to 90 days. You know, while we run certain background checks and so on. So the legislation is there. Therefore, we do not need, in my opinion,
But the enforcement is not there.
And I'm glad you said it. You took the words off my mouth. It is the willingness of those in power to enforce the legislation. That is the problem that we have. We do not have persons in authority with the strength, and I like the words you used earlier, the testicular fortitude, to to enact the powers that Parliament has given us. We do not have, if for example, I were to hold somebody on a citizen's arrest, which we are allowed to in Trinidad and Tobago, if I were to hold somebody on a citizen's arrest, if I'm lucky, say for example your brother somehow managed to get that person tied up in the vehicle and so on, and call the police, what do you think the chances are that the police will actually lay the arrest? What do you think the chances are that the police will not hassle the citizen who is enforcing the law? So we have a plethora of things that need to be addressed. One is the willingness by those that are in authority. Two is the education and training of the officers, who are really the main point of contact in treating with the criminal element. We really have to train, assess and train those who are really officers, who really wanted to be officers, as opposed to persons who just wanted a job, for example, and really identify those and strengthen our base insofar as the willingness to progress the country forward goes. But I like where your mind is at, but we do not need to suspend the Constitution.
Talk about that President of El Salvador, what he did, and we should take some kind of stock on it. Before I go, I just want to say one last thing. I just want people to just think about this. The day after, like I would have the day after this election in the U.S., the day after the PNM loses, just think about what's going to happen. Forex issues gone. Crime issues just suddenly disappear. It's like Trinidad will just wake up to a new day, a new horizon. Just think about it. People, all these problems we have now is only because of some of a certain little elite that's controlling everything. You know. The day after, let's think.
Yeah.
The
caller isn't wrong. You know, historical data has shown us that when the PNM is in power,
crime increases, everything increases negative. Yeah.
Correct. Crime increases, inflation rate goes up, tourism drops, kidnapping increases, murders increase. Businesses, the economy takes a nosedive. They of course must sell off one of our assets, whether it be Carney Limited, whether it be cocoa, whether it be, as the case may be. Most recently, the most recent sell-off will be of course oil and gas sector, Petrochin. So the caller isn't wrong, and the inference there is then, well, anybody else other than the PNM always has a boom. Every time another government comes into office, there is always an uplift in society. There is an increase in persons interested in education because we have dollar for dollar then moved on to GATE. There is an uplift in crime detection rates and criminal prosecution and so on, especially when Ramesh Maraj was Attorney General. There's a decrease in inflation. Because of the policies and so on that are implemented. And all in all, it just takes the willingness of persons to serve as opposed to willingness of persons to self-serve. It just takes the willingness of persons to do better than what has been occurring now. And instead of serving self-interest, friend and family interests, and the elitist interests, to serve the needs of the everyday citizens. When one thinks about the status of our country now, Imbert likes to boast, and I'm bringing it back to Imbert because I said I was going to deal with him today. Imbert likes to boast, we have all these policies, we have all these mandates, we have all these regulations. My opinion is Imbert's policy, Imbert's regulation for Trinidad and Tobago is unemployment. Imbert's policy, Imbert's wish, and Imbert's desire is to unemploy persons. It's to have persons unemployed and on the streets. Because what he has done is he has made it very difficult for small, medium, and some large business entities to diversify, to hire persons, to hire special persons of skill, to hire laborers, to expand their businesses, because if they expand, then the pot shrinks for other existing businesses. So he has made it very difficult. He has choked that enterprise. He has choked that facility. He doesn't want those businesses expanding, and that means that we have high unemployment, and that's what I interpret his policy to be. That elitist mentality to help those select few and suffer the poor is what we cannot tolerate moving forward.
Well, Richard, we have just about 2 minutes again, and this is where we have to start to wrap up. Your closing comments.
My closing comments, as always, is that as a nation, we have to see through the nonsense, see through the mist, see through what has been given and force-fed to us for 9 years, use our common sense, use our education, discuss matters in the public domain, reach out to Inshan or I if you feel the need to discuss points. I think we've shown that, you know, we can have a nice discussion, for example, with the last caller. And at the end of the day, use your ability to see through the nonsense and let us work together for a better and brighter Trinidad and Tobago.
Well said, my brother. Of course, folks, I would like to thank Richard for being on air with me tonight. And of course, Nazim is home resting comfortably after hitting his left-right toe. Right, so he will be back, God willing, next week, Wednesday. And of course, again, happy birthday to Salisha, the wife of Moody, from all of us at the Baraka Foundation. And dinner is on the 17th. If you have not gotten your tickets, well, you have to try and find out if we have any more, because as far as I'm aware, 99.9% of it is sold out and gone. So therefore, you can still call 475-2230. And that's our dinner, which takes place next week Sunday. Not this Sunday, next week Sunday, of course, at the Baraka grounds. All right, so I'll catch you next week for Breaking Barriers, God willing. Be safe, folks. Take care. Assalamu alaikum and good evening.